to the weekly World Climate Change News, making the headlines. European Union chief warns countries aiming to return to coal consumption. The Bonn Climate Conference ends in war of words. Climate change could prolong the duration of conflicts in Africa. Edo State in Nigeria suffered worst tree cover loss in 2021. Birds sing less during the scorching heat. 23.7 million people displaced in China, India, and Philippines due to climate change. Maldives plans a floating city in moonshot attempt to combat climate change. The news in details. European Union Commissioner Ursula von der Leyen raised alarm about some nations considering coal to address electricity shortages caused by Ukraine war. Germany, Austria, and the Netherlands will allow coal to replace Russian gas for power generation. The chief told the media that we must exploit this crisis to go forward and not revert on polluting through fossil fuels. Scientists say that reverting to coal usage undermines the goal of eliminating fossil fuels by 2050. The two-week UN Climate Summit in Bonn ended with little progress on the global calamity. Few nations have established effective strategies for decreasing carbon emissions, which are a major source of global warming. Climate change advocates and developing nations accuse the European governments of failing to help poor countries battle the climate catastrophe by not funding alternative energy sources. According to a new study, climate change may increase the likelihood and duration of armed conflicts across African regions. The Ingenio Institute conducted the study, which looked at socio-economic factors as well as statistical weather patterns to see if there was a linkage between extreme weather events and violence in African communities. According to the findings, rising temperature and prolonged precipitation, both environmental phenomena linked to climate change, increases the likelihood of conflict by 4 to 5 times in population within a radius of 550 kilometers. The worst climate change effect led to tree cover loss in Edo State of Nigeria. The thick forest coverage in South Nigeria lost almost 18,000 hectares in 2021. Over the past 20 years, Edo and across river states has lost a total whopping 4 lakh hectares to the effects of deforestation. Tree loss needs to be taken seriously in order to check the devastating effects of greenhouse emissions, which increase global warming. Heat waves can be deadly for warm-blooded animals, but physiological and behavioral effects were lacking from recent high-profile studies on climate change. Researchers studied the sublethal effects of heat that is not fatal to animals but still might affect their ability to adapt. Examples: birds sing less during the scorching heat. The study observed that the heat changed the activity of hundreds of genes in genitals but less in the brain, implying that the brain activity may be resistant to extreme temperatures. A new report reveals that in 2021, due to climate change, almost 24 million people were displaced within their countries. The most internal displacement related to climate disasters occurred in China, Philippines, and India by floods and storms. Disasters related to climate change not only threaten to increase poverty and hunger and reduce access to natural resources like water, but may also cause increased instability and violence in the countries. As we know, sea level rising is one of the results of climate change, and all the coastal zones are going to be affected. But islands around the world are the ones which feel the main impact due to the risk. That's why Maldives is building an entire city on the water designed in a pattern similar to brain core and big enough to house 20,000 people. The city will consist of 5,000 floating units, including houses, restaurants, shops, and schools. This was Vanika bringing you the news this week. Thank you for watching weekly World Climate Change News. Stay tuned for more. Bye-bye.